Scott, no.
You ready?
Yep.
Okay, sorry about that. We had a little bit of a technical. Yep. Try it again.
Are we live now?
I think so.
This is Casey. I can't hear you. Repeat 3 times. So I don't like the sound of my voice that much.
Yeah. Are we good?
Throw it in a sub right now. We'll get a new one.
Just sign out of Zoom.
Good. All right. All right, folks, we're going to call this meeting of the Hartford Select Board to order at 6:07 on Tuesday, February 8th. Sorry, we had a little bit of technical difficulties in the room, which hopefully have now been straightened out. So first up, we do the Pledge of Allegiance. Does anyone like to volunteer? Dennis, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yes, sir.
And now we'll close this meeting as the Hartford Select Board and reopen as the local liquor control board. So we have there's actually 4 applications that we're going to discuss tonight. The 5th one, if it's still on your agenda, needs to be taken out because all the paperwork isn't quite ready for that one. So that's in our packets here. Any questions or comments? I think they're all new rules. If there are any questions or comments, anything. Okay. So we'll entertain a motion to approve them, and we can do them by classes. We can do the first 2 together and then the second 2 together, if you'd like. No? Oh, sorry, I missed that. Okay, so yep, thank you. So we need to have 3, 1, 2, and then the next 2 can go together.
Can I have a question and discussion?
Yep.
Wolf Hospitality, I'm not sure where that is. 40 Currier Street.
Kind of the backside of Revolution.
So the outside consumption would take place where?
They have like a sidewalky kind of bar thing that's attached to their buildings. They have sort of a takeout window, and then there's like 2 or 3 picnic tables right there that they sit on, sort of on their deck.
So in the interest of what else, the only term I come up with is fairness. We're going to have establishments on South Main Street or North Main Street that aren't going to be able to do outside consumption. I don't know if it's going to definitely hurt their business. I don't know if it's fair for us to allow outside consumption at this place. I'm just trying to say in terms of fairness and equality.
I think
across
it's
the
I think
board.
it's a land. I think it's their land as opposed to town land. So it's on their property, just like the other restaurants in Quechee have outside consumption on their patios and stuff. It's the same type of thing, is my understanding.
Okay, so that it wouldn't be.
It's not
It
town,
wouldn't be town
right?
property. Okay,
Right, it's not the
all
town
right,
sidewalk.
all right.
It's their
that makes
Their
a
footprint,
difference.
right,
I just
exactly.
didn't want to, in terms of kind of
Right.
quality, delay the process for one restaurant, so. Okay.
Right,
And there's a picture, I think, in the packet, Lanny, where you can see sort of where it is.
And I was trying to find that, I can't find that, so.
Dennis, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't think that we can hold up a liquor license on that issue. If that's an issue, that would be, have other avenues, I think, to bring up. Not, I don't think we could turn this down due to that reason, or, you know. And if nobody else has anything, I would like to move at least the first one, I think. That's the only first and third class.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Chair, I'd like to move to approve Squeaky Wheel Incorporated doing business as the Filling Station Restaurant and Lounge, 70 Gate Street, White River Junction, Vermont, 05001 for a first and third class license.
And is there a second?
Second.
And from Joe, any other questions or comments? Hearing none, we'll call the question. Let's do it by roll call vote. So Dennis, yes?
Aye.
Danny, yes?
Aye. Aye.
And I will abstain. And Kim was not able to be with us tonight, and Ally will be joining us at about 6:30, so they'll jump on at that time. Sorry. I forgot to
Kim
mention
is
that.
on Zoom if she,
Oh, she on
so
Zoom?
she doesn't have her hand up.
Okay,
So,
gotcha.
I tried to make her a panelist first.
Kim would like to
So-
just remain an attendee as she's 6 hours ahead.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So I'd like to make the motion that we approve Wolf Tree Hospitality LLC doing business as Wolf Street, 40 Currier Street, White River Junction, Vermont, 05001 for a first, a third, and an outside consumption.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mike, any other questions or comments, discussion? Hearing none, we'll do a roll call vote again.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Okay, and I will abstain again, so motion will carry. Thank you. And next up, we have two that could go together if people choose.
Or can all three?
Oh, the Jake's is not ready yet. That-
Oh, okay.
that
All right,
one-
just the two.
Yeah, so
Just
just
the
two.
two?
Yeah,
Okay, I'll do that, if that's okay.
yeah, go ahead.
Mr. Chair, I move that Quechee General Store, Inc. doing business as Quechee General Store at 5573 Woodstock Road, Quechee, Vermont, 050059, and Summit Stores LLC doing business as Summit Stores 18 and 42 Sykes Mountain Road, White River Junction, Vermont, 05001 as both second-class licenses.
Right, and is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second from Dennis, okay. Any other questions, comments, or discussion?
That should be Sykes Mountain Avenue, not Road.
I'm sorry, thank you.
Hearing none, we'll call the question. We'll do a roll call vote.
Aye.
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 Okay, so motion will carry and I will abstain. All right, that's all the business before us as a local liquor control board this evening, so we'll reopen as the Hartford Select Board at 6:12. And there is one little change to the order of agenda that we have to do the Vermont Bond Bank series, and that has to be the first thing on the agenda since it was added late to a family emergency where it couldn't be done ahead of time. So that is here, and that will be it's in our packet. I think you guys have the information, and I think Tracy and or Lori are presenting that. is
Yeah,
that correct?
Lori is trying to get on. I don't know if that's on her end or on ours, but I'm just gonna give a little bit of a second. I know David's probably working on it. Technology always fails us when we need it. But let me introduce this a little bit while we try to get Lori on. As you all are aware, on the 25th of January, we approved an application to the bond bank for that $2,400,800 for the South Main, North Main Gate Street project and for the parking lot. So that we got your approval and then we submit to the bond bank. They do their own due diligence. Make sure that they feel like we are a good town to loan to. And can you send Maria a link?
She's not on the attendees.
Okay. Lori, I can't send you a link. If somebody's out there for my staff, they can send Lori the link again. That would be great. Thank you, everyone. Lori's out of state with a family emergency, and so we are just working our hardest in town. So we have this $2 million, $2.4 million. You approve the application to the bond bank. The bond bank gets a hold of it, make sure we are a good town to lend to. We have all of our ducks in our row. Our application is complete. They've done their work. And the reason why this is coming to you last minute is they let us know on Friday afternoon that we needed to get this approved by you all by the 18th. So here we are, because we're not meeting again until the 22nd. So what we did is we attached the documents for the bond sale. Those are prepared by the bond bank and our bond attorney. And we are presenting them to you for review and approval. And there's resolutions and signatures, a loan agreement, and a tax certificate. And hopefully we can get Lori on here to answer some questions, or I can, there we go, Lori's here as an attendee. So I'm gonna ask David, could you bring her over? Hi, Lori, you're in.
Sorry for that. I tried to get in and it was not letting me. So, thank you. I think, Tracy, you did a very good introduction there. I guess I'm just here for questions if anybody has them.
Thanks, Lori. Any questions? Okay, I guess we don't have any questions, Lori. Thank you.
Okay, great.
So I guess we'll entertain a motion.
Are we still just doing the order of agenda?
Well, this we have to do first on here to be first, and then we can go back and talk about other things on order of the agenda.
Okay.
Where we, I'm sorry, but I've lost where I'm reading it, but I don't see where the actual motion is, so help me out with that.
So I think on the front of the document, we got Lori.
Right, and if I could just clarify a little bit on that, that would be, you've reviewed the documents. I take it through the course of being prepared for the meeting, and you don't have any questions. So the next actions is to approve all of those documents in the order in which they were stated in the discussion section and as presented in the attachments, and then authorize the additional duly authorized person to sign any documents would be the Dan.
See,
We do have a question from an audience participant. We want to bring Kathy over.
She has to accept.
Oh, Kathy, you have to accept, I guess. I think you're on now.
Eight?
oh, okay.
Are you there, Kathy?
No,
Looks like she's muted. right now.
Maybe you're muted, Kathy.
Oh, sorry about that. I'm a panelist now, so sorry, I can't vote on anything. Kathy Melisick, Wilder, Vermont. I had a question about an item on the TIF report, which was Northern Hospitality.
We're not on the TIF report, Kathy.
Oh, I thought that's what you were doing.
No, we're on the bond bank.
Well, what agenda item is that?
It had to be added at the last moment because,
Oh,
so that's why I
Gotcha.
have to make it first on the agenda. Okay?
sorry, I thought you were
That's okay.
talking TIF and all. Okay, I'm gonna have a TIF question and an appointment question, but I will mute myself again. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
So, make a motion.
Yeah.
Hopefully I'm making the right motion here. Make a motion, we approve submittal of the attached Vermont bond bank application for $2,400,800 and authorize the town manager to sign the application and proceed to the next step.
Wait,
And that's not the right one.
no,
I
no,
rescind my
that's the
motion.
one from the 22nd. What do you guys,
That's, that's why I'm asking.
okay,
you.
hold on.
I've obviously,
No, it's all good. What Lori was saying, you got that list of about 5 items in the discussion section. of
Yep,
the
never mind.
one
He's
pager.
got it.
I got it.
Okay,
Okay,
awesome.
so
Okay.
I rescind my original motion and I replace it with this. Okay, I make a motion that we adopt the presented bond documents and designate the select board chair as a duly authorized person for all other necessary documents to execute the bond sale.
Do we have to list those documents or not? Does it matter?
Sound good?
That is definitely a Lori question. That's why.
Oh, okay. It would be appropriate for you to,
What do you want me to
So
do?
do you want to just list?
there
the
is a
documents on there?
document
Okay,
that
yeah.
is submitted by the bond attorney with directions on what actions need to be taken. And I think if you just reference that document, which is the attached, you can do it by the date of the document submitted by Eli Emerson of the bond attorney representing the town, and the specific activities, actions that need to be taken this evening for adoption would be resolution and certifications. Select board adopts, and then you sign it. The loan agreement you adopt, and you have appointed the chair to sign, authorized. A municipal tax certification. You can.
Hold on,
you can go
Lori.
through the list.
Can I interrupt you, Lori?
Sure.
Can you make a recommendation of what you want for a motion, please?
So the recommendation is that you have a review the attached bond documents, okay? And as stated in the letter from the town bond attorney, you can cite the date on that if you want, or just say as attached on the document. And you have reviewed and you approve and adopt all of those documents.
Lori, do they need to list out each one of those documents? For
I don't
example?
think you do need to list it out. I think by reference, you can do that. The thing specifically that you need to do, though, is you have to recognize that there is signatures that need to take place, so you can do that. And you do need to designate the select board chair as the duly authorized person.
I get
Because there
it.
is one section that does require that.
Okay, so Lori, if we're not gonna necessarily feed these folks their lines, but we're gonna help them along, would Lanny be remiss to make a motion to adopt the resolution and certification, loan agreement, municipal tax certificate, general obligation bond, and loan receipt? Could you
Well,
say-
in addition, there are other documents that need to be signed by the town treasurer and the town clerk. So this motion has to recognize that they have reviewed all of the documents, regardless of whether they're signing them, and that they have adopted them and accept them. And in addition to that, you
Okay,
need
so
to appoint the select board
I
chair
think
as the duly authorized.
we've got that one. So what we need the board to do is to make a motion that they have reviewed and approved the bond documents as presented by Primer and Piper in the February 4th package. Is that correct, Lori? Yes, no?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
And then we also need them to list out the 5 items, adopt the 5 items, the resolution.
No,
is to-
she said you didn't have to do that.
Okay. So I think backtracking, just to confirm my understanding, we need the select board specifically to motion that they have reviewed and approved the bond documents from the February 4th Primer and Piper package. Package from Primer and Piper, Eaglestein and Kramer, who is our bond attorney. And secondly, they need to designate the select board chair, Dan Fraser, as duly authorized. Is that correct, Lori?
I don't think you need to specify Dan. I think you need to specify the select board chair, because if there are
Okay.
any other documents
You did.
past his chairmanship.
Okay.
Yeah,
I think they've got it, Lori.
Yeah.
We're gonna let
Yeah.
them fly.
I did that.
yes. So I think that motion was accurate, because you did recognize the chair, whomever that may be, at the time. And you did say that we had reviewed the packet, so I think we're good, and we just need a second at that point. And I'll second it.
Okay. Any further discussion? Anyone not understand what we're approving? Okay. Okay, hearing none, we'll call the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
So it's unanimous. Thank you very much. All right, thank you, Lori.
You're welcome.
Get with Tracy later.
Okay.
I'm gonna have some tea.
Okay, so anything, thank you, Lynn. Anything else on the order of agenda?
Yes.
Yeah, Dennis, go ahead.
I'm hoping to add, I'd hope the board could discuss the budget candidates night forum, the format for that.
Okay.
Yep.
I mean, it's not, we can discuss it. I don't know if we'll have the answers, but we'll discuss it and see where we end up. That sounds fine.
It'd be a good starting point.
Okay,
Thank you.
yeah, so remind us, I'm putting you in charge of that, Dennis, after we do maybe the town manager's report, okay?
Okay, so
After number 4.
like 4A.
Yeah.
Are you, I don't know if you're allowed to add things in the order of agenda. Are you sure about that one?
I think he just wants to ask clarifying questions about the
So-
process and the procedure.
Let's make sure that we're on the up and up, and that could be part of maybe select board comments, not adding an agenda item, because that gets us into adding agenda items, and then we're on shaky ground.
Okay, that sounds
In
good.
terms of adding agenda items.
I don't know this, but I was thinking that we could add, if we did it during the order of agenda talk, I thought we could add, but not after that, is the way I think I remember that rule.
Give me just a second to go to our FAQs, Dennis. I want to make sure we're on the up and up on this.
Robert's Rules of Order does allow that during the agenda discussion.
I'm not even sure it's a Robert's rules.
Can
thing.
we add items to, this is from VLCT's open meeting law FAQs. Can we add items to an agenda after it's posted? You may table or postpone an item when necessary in situations where we need additional information. Other adjustments to the agenda, such as changing the order of items, may be made anytime during the meeting. There are more stringent standards for adding items to an agenda. The law states that an item may only be added or removed from a meeting as the first order of business and as an emergency. And an emergency is stated, I just lost my place. No, it does not give the public body free rein to alter a meeting agenda.
Should we just discuss it? or-
So we'll just
Do-
discuss
do-
it in
do it
select board
select board
comments.
comments.
Okay, that
Very
makes-
well.
That's,
Yep.
Thank you for doing that.
But wait a minute. If that is true, how could we have just added this last thing to the agenda?
We can add emergency items. There's a phrase for an imminent deadline. Hold on. An emergency item. No, that's not an emergency item. Hold on just a second. It's something to the effect of an imminent, a deadline driven item that must be completed.
Yeah, like we won't meet again before we need to approve the bond bank question. And then we did first on the agenda, I think, which is also a requirement. So I think that's why we were able to do that as opposed to just add, another agenda. item.
So I am under Robert's Rules of Orders. The agenda is not binding. Items can be added before the meeting as well as during the meeting by a motion, a second, and a 2/3 vote.
Do we adopt Roberts here, though?
We are supposed to be following Robert's Rule of
Is
Order.
that like in state law or something? Because I mean, they may have things in the statute about how we're supposed to conduct our business that would override Robert's rules.
Let's not get into weeds on this. I'll do it second, selectmen comments.
perfect. Sounds good. Thank you, Dennis. Okay. Anything else under order of agenda? Okay. Then we will go to public comment. So we'll start with people in the room, and then we'll go to people that are on the Zoom call. So we ask that you state your name, your town of residence. You have 5 minutes to speak, and there will be no personal attacks. Does anyone in the room wants to say anything? Okay.
Yeah, Mike Morris.
Okay, let's bring Mike over.
Good evening, board. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you for recognizing me. I appreciate it. I'm following up on previous questions I have asked, started back in the end of May, early June, regarding asking the board about the cleanup of Prospect Street and the VFW Legion parking lot of cost for that, and which I have yet to receive an answer specifically publicly. I've not received one privately either. I did have to do a FOIA to get a copy of the contracts that were signed for a cleanup, but that did not involve all cost, which I have discussed with some of the select board members. There was other cost of lawyers' fees. The town participated in cleanup, spent time there hauling stuff, and disposal fees, which I think was in the FOIA. And then later, that's back in the end of May, early June, and I have emails from the town manager saying that I would see this in the next manifest of 2 or 3 different manifests, which I have yet to see the total cost. And then I'm following up on a question from November 2nd, which was a second follow-up and asking about people working from home and why, and yet have get an answer from the board or the town manager. And at the time I asked the question and said, would this take as long as the previous question? And the chairman of the board said that if I didn't hear back an answer within a month or so, to let him know. I waited a month and a half. I followed up. I notified you during a public meeting. It's recorded on CATV. And reminded you since that I have yet to receive an answer. And I just want to express how very, very disappointed, disturbed. We talk about transparency. We talk about openness. We talk about everything being fair, but yet I'll just speak about myself. I'm a taxpayer. I'm a voter. I'm a resident of the town of Hartford for many, many years, since I was about 7 years old. And I asked a question about something that could have been answered 6 or 7 months ago, but never was given back the answer. And I've heard different reasons from the chairman. Sometimes the answers have been condescending towards me, which I resent, but I am very disappointed that I, as a taxpayer, a resident, and voter of the town of Hartford, asked a simple question that basically had a simple answer and could have been followed through with if people did their job properly. I hate to say it that way, but I have to. And I want this to be publicly known how upset and disturbed I am. I know you don't have an answer for me now because you've always had a reason for not having one, but there's something wrong here. And what's really more disturbing is that the majority of the board has allowed this behavior of not answering questions, which are legitimate questions. Now, if I'm wrong, I apologize, but I do not think I'm wrong here for asking these questions. And the reasons I asked them was legitimate. And it doesn't matter what the reasons were. I have not received these answers. I'm talking about end of May to now, still not an answer on the cleanup. November 2nd, still don't have an answer on how many employees we have still working from home and why. I did not ask what employees. I have not asked anything that's privileged information as far as I know. So I just want to let you know how disturbing it is that A, the town manager is not giving me the answers, and B, the majority of the board is not enforcing their only employee to give me those answers, which I feel I am entitled to. So I want you to hear what I'm saying. This is wrong, people. This is not helping with your transparency. It's causing more problems than not for some simple answers. So I hope I've expressed myself enough to let you know how I feel. And the way I feel I've been treated. And I hope things change in the future very soon. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Joe, go ahead.
Well, I guess first, let's get to the heart of the matter. Tracy, do you have?
Gotta look at your microphone.
Oh, I'm sorry. Do you have any answers for Mr. Morris?
I think that it's really hard to answer kind of multiple deep questions at the same point. I was looking up and Mr. Morris did get a document request back in August and the Director of Human Resources handled that. If he was unhappy with that, we definitely needed to hear back from that.
Sure.
And one of the things that we all talked about a few weeks ago was when there are these more complex questions in the middle of a select board meeting, to have an email to me, to the board chair and to the vice chair. And then we'll acknowledge the receipt of the email within 24 business hours and work to answer your questions or concerns. And that way there's multiple people in the email.
Okay.
And we can gain clarity and understand what people's requests are in a way that allows us all to reflect on their written words.
Okay. So he did have multiple questions. Have we addressed all? I know you said you addressed one. I know that there were several. Have those been addressed at all? And is there, and can we at the very least give a time period of addressing some of the other things that he asked for?
I think I'd really like to have it emailed to me and the board chair and the vice chair. So that way
Okay.
we can make sure that we are fully answering people's questions.
Okay.
And we're able to ask clarifying questions on what they're looking for. It's really easy to misunderstand when we're remote like this.
Okay, so just so we're clear, and so everybody, so if anything hasn't been emailed to you, I'm just saying, I'm just for everyone, all town people, if anything hasn't been emailed to you, the procedure is to email it to you, and you can CC the chair and the vice chair. You will respond, you will make sure that at the very least that you will respond after 24 hours that you have received it. And that you will give updates on the answers. I think it's important that we're able to answer these questions, whatever they may be. You know, so long as they have nothing to do with personnel or anything like that, that we cannot answer. So I fully support you and making sure that you get this done. But whomever it is, I think it's important that we make sure that we answer the general public's of Hartford's questions.
Excuse me, can you still hear me?
Yes, sir.
Please, with all due respect, this has been since May, and now the town manager says, send me an email on particular questions. This is unacceptable. This has been a question since May, and now you say an email, that's a procedure. I've never heard these procedures. This has not been made public, has not been recognized, has not been voted on by the board. This is unbelievable behavior. I'm sorry. And to sit back and watch this the way I have, I've been a select board member. I cannot believe you're tolerating this behavior of your only employee. I have asked a simple question. One of the questions was about cost. Well, the cost was one time when I asked, they had signed a contract the day before. It could have been simply said, we just signed a contract for approximately $6,300 on 2 contracts for cleanup. And then we're going to have participate on cleanup. And then we're going to have staff working with it. It could have been resolved a long time ago, but you've been avoiding this answer. Somebody has been avoiding it, and somebody's been sticking up for this avoidance. I'm sorry, this is unacceptable. You show me these written rules of procedure on requesting information. It's never been before. This is a way to get around not answering my questions, which were simple, common questions. It could have been resolved months ago. Why do we want to push it to this extent? I'm sorry. The majority of the board is supporting this behavior. That's not common in the town of Hartford. Never has been.
If we
And I'm
wanna have a
sorry,
discussion
it's
around-
unacceptable.
Okay, all right. We understand what you're saying. We understand, if I may, we understand exactly what you're saying. What I'm trying to do right now, Mr. Morris, is I'm trying to get a procedure so we can answer this going forward. I can understand you being upset. I can understand you, if questions have not been answered. Fine, I get it. But now I can't go in the past. I can only go from now, and this is my last select board meeting, but I can only go from now till we go forward. So I'm trying to fix an issue that you have brought up. And I'm sorry that and with you that you're upset. I get it. I absolutely get it. And I know. But what all I can do right now on February 8th, 2022 is go from what we're going to do today forward. So we have a process. This is what we're going to do. Look, I get it. I get the transparency. I get you being upset. All I can do from today is go forward and this is the process of what we're going to do. If other select board members, once I leave or whatever, say they don't want to do it that way, that's fine. I understand it. But I'm trying to get answers for you from today and going forward. I can't go in the past. And it is, I agree with you to a certain extent that yes, that it should have been answered months ago. They weren't. So from today, I'm gonna get you the answers as long as I'm on the select board, which is, another 20 days.
Okay, yep, take Mike off the call and let's go over to Lanny and Dennis, and then we'll bring the next person on.
So I think that it's a good plan, but I would also really like to make an addition to this in that there has to be like a 2-week deadline to be able to get, I don't think there's anything that we can't answer within 2 weeks. To be able to just give updates, we could string updates and updates and updates, and we need to have a deadline of when a person asks a question, when they're going to get an answer to their question.
The only caveat that I would say to that, and I agree with you. I mean, I'm obviously there's a hole in what I asked for. The only caveat that I would say, there are some things that the town manager may have to go outside of, that may take longer than 2 weeks. I'm just trying to get all contingency plans available, but I agree to that there should be, and that's why I said updates.
And I think that if we're going to do, if we have to go to an outside agency for question, we should say we're going to get back to somebody within a month. But anything for in-house answer, and Mr. Morris has asked questions about in-house things, which could have been answered in a period of 2 weeks. So
That's fair.
I would like to
That's
add
fair.
to this idea of having a procedure that we make it hard and fast, that we're going to get back to people within 2 weeks for answers that we can get in-house. If we have to go outside, it may take us a month, but at the end of that month, we're going to have an answer for them.
Well, I would like the other board members to speak on. I don't have an issue with that. That way, there is at least a framework of what we have, and then we could go forward with that. But I like my colleagues to speak on that as well.
Dennis, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, so I have a few comments about this, and I gotta say, sitting here where I sat for the year I've been back on the board, this is very brutal to keep hearing about requests for information and not getting answers. as far as the people working from home question there was, I really have a hard time understanding why we couldn't have just said, it's 10 or 15 people, 20 or whatever the number was, and this whole thing would have gone away. I think by not answering that question, I don't know why it was asked. I'm curious about it too, but just for, I worked from home before I retired. Almost 2 years ago, we got kicked out of work and sent home to be home. So I get this, and I think I was more productive from being home. So I don't have any problem in the world about this. But by not answering some of the simple things, says to me, when it goes into this tailspin of delay and I can't answer it and so forth, says to me that we may be trying to hide something. And I hate the thought that we're trying to hide things instead of providing answers. I don't know about the cleanup thing. I think it was said earlier, it came from May. It's mind-boggling how we could be still talking about that. The concept of having to email, when a citizen in this town takes the time to attend one of our meetings, which we totally encourage, to make a comment during this meeting, a select board meeting, a meeting of the people, and that's not good enough. The person would have to email to 3 people to get this on record is also mind-boggling to me. That I think the citizen mentioned that's unacceptable. Like I just said, if somebody has taken the time to come see us and pour their heart out to us with a concern or question or something, I don't know why we can't sit here and jot that down, and we may not be able to answer it now, but I would think that we'd be following up on this and getting back to the person. And that would be welcoming to citizens, and they're part of the process. And I think board members would like to hear the complaints as well as some good feedback once in a while. But why we'd have to email after a person has attended this meeting is, I don't get that. I've sat here through some temporary town managers and now 3 permanent town managers, and I've just never heard of this type of business before.
Joe.
If I can respond to that.
I'm not done.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
I have decided not to run again this time, and it breaks my heart. I love this town and whatnot, but I'm having problems sitting here and being part of this too. This is just one part of my decision not to do this again. I'm retired, I have the time, but I am having a very hard time being part of this stuff here. I've always been about Hartford business and matters to come before the town. I consider myself a problem solver, and to have all this delay and then request people to email during meeting or after meetings with their questions, this is not good business. And I'm pretty upset that we're still having to hear about this. Thank you.
If I can go back to why I suggested the email, is so that we have a timestamp, a date, and a response date, and that the person actually knows. I can understand you saying you have that when a person comes to the board meeting, and we have that. That was the thought process of why I suggested that we have email. And also, I'm trying to solve a problem. If you want to come and we do it this, it's time stamped here, that's fine. I don't, but the thing that I want more than anything is I want, much like yourself, is a problem to be solved. And I know that's what you want, Dennis. So my suggestion of the email was more because there's a documented time and date, and I know you have that if you come to these meetings as well, but so it's, if someone wanted to do a public records, that they have that and they could do that as well. I more than anything, we want to just solve this problem and then move forward. I am frustrated at it as well and not running as well. But probably for different reasons than you. That is why I suggested the email portion.
Mike, do you have anything?
I hadn't really planned to say much, but I mean, I agree. I think it's taken far too long to get this information. I think it could be helpful if we did have some sort of process to maybe intake stuff, whether that's a link or I don't know. I mean, something like that, some way that we can sort of log in when people have questions for us, what they're looking for, and then set up some time to respond that's reasonable. So I do agree with that. And yeah, I think it's taken too long in this case to get the information.
Chairman.
But Dennis, and I'll go to Lynn.
Thank you again, Mr. Chair. The email thing again. Somebody could email us at any time to make a complaint or concern or comment or whatever. So you can do that anytime. And as you mentioned, I mean, if they come or call into this meeting, it's all on videotape. So it's documented that the complaint or concern's been made. And I'll just try to credit myself here a bit. I don't know that I'm an expert in customer service, but I have formally trained in customer service much of my life, my adult life. I've held all kinds of customer service type jobs, frontline personnel types, and so I just have never experienced anything like this, and I think we can do much better. Thank you.
I was just sitting here thinking about what the vice chair's suggestion is and what my add-on was this. And I do have to bring up a flag here and say that we have a very large population in town of Hartford that does not have access to computers. And this is going to set up a case for segregation if we only allow people to contact us by way of email. And I don't want to exclude anyone within the town of Hartford from bringing a grievance before this board. So I'm beginning to be leaning towards Mr. Brown's statement about the fact that if we have someone call in and they ask a question of this board, it can be documented by the recording secretary. And that should be proof and valid enough that that person has called in and has lodged an issue that they want addressed. I don't believe we should be doing it by email, because I don't believe in segregated people like that in the town of Hartford. We can't do that, because a lot of people in the town, my father's one of them, don't even know where the ON OFF button is on the computer. Okay. And if he wanted to lodge a complaint, the only way he can do it is make a phone call. So I think that Mr. Brown's right. We need to have a recording secretary record when somebody calls and lodges something for this board to address. And then from that date, we should have a set period of time that we can respond to that person in open session to answer their question.
The only hole that I see with that is that, in the thing that I wanted is a timestamp, and you could do it in this, but I'm just saying, if someone called in, you wouldn't necessarily have that. If they did it here in an open session, yes, you would have that. But if they called in or anything, I wanted something formal, and that was what I was trying to go, so we can make sure that nothing fell through the cracks. That was the key portion, that I didn't want anyone's issue to fall through the cracks, whatever whatever it was. I think that's important. So, and I agree with you. I don't, and there are no off buttons anymore on computers, just so.
Yeah, this is the on button.
But that's what I just did. I didn't want anything to fall through the cracks. And that was my thought process in this. I am all for however we're able to get everyone's issue recorded and then response through.
Moved over.
You know, so that was my ultimate thing. I didn't want anything to fall through the cracks, and that's why I was hesitant on the phone calls or anything like that, because you know, look, Lana is the greatest person in the world. I just want to, and you know, just my personal opinion.
It's a good one.
And she takes vacation from time to time, and someone may be taking over for her during that time, and they might not take as copious notes as she does. So I just wanted to make sure that nothing fell through the cracks, and we're able, and also that with that the response happened in the most timely of manner, because you may get it, but then we want to make sure that we have a process of following up from there.
Thanks, Joe. Thanks, Dan. I would just say, you know, I don't want anyone to feel like they're excluded. I think people are going to ask questions through emails. They're going to ask questions when they attend in person, when they're going to call up. And, you know, frankly, every meeting, I just write down the person's name and their question. If we want one of us to just write it down and give it to someone at the end of the meeting, I think that's perfectly fine. What we really need is just to get back to people faster than we've been getting back to them. And I don't think that's like a super hard lift, you know. People should be able to reach out to us in as many ways as possible. And, you know, if I get an email from someone, hey, what did this cost? Or what's this? You know, I will send it to the appropriate person, you know. So, I mean, some of it falls on us to just keep following up, I think, too. So those are my thoughts.
Ally has one.
That's good, Ally.
Hi. So I think this is an important conversation, certainly, to make sure that we're streamlining how we're communicating and making sure that folks have multiple access points for communication. I'm also mindful that it's, almost 7 o'clock. And so I do hope that we can hopefully come to a point of understanding a point forward soon. But I think just to reiterate maybe what has been said, it sounds like, I guess in my view, I would say there are multiple ways, and there should be multiple ways for folks to get in touch with us. We have public comment, we have email, we have phone calls. And so that email sort of timestamp idea that Joe, you're mentioning, maybe is another, step to reinforce that communication. I know that sometimes we have, our amazing town staff and Tracy and us running around doing a million things. And so it's always helpful to have that email reminder if somebody brings something up in public comment and doesn't get something addressed as soon as they're needing that information, to follow up via email. But I don't necessarily see that as essential. And I would hope that, as we are hearing comments and hearing information in a lot of different ways, we can, be just really diligent about taking note of that. And we're responding to folks in a timely fashion.
Thank you, Ally.
We have a question, unless.
So I guess I would like to see us have a takeaway from this meeting tonight. So before we, and I'm not sure if we're going to do it within this discussion or not, but I think we have to have a takeaway of a set procedure that we're going to follow. So we need to decide that. And I know it's taking up time, but it's important to do that.
Can I make a suggestion? Just because can we warn it for the next meeting? And then have it on there that you can make a motion, everybody's a part of it. I unfortunately I won't be, but I trust my colleagues. And then everybody's in agreement on how we do this. I mean, I just so long as it gets done is my thing.
My question right now is, when is Mr. Morris going to get the answers he's looking for?
We don't know at this time, I don't think. I think there needs to be some deep diving into the specifics of what he's looking for. Some of those documents have been provided. He's asked for additional stuff since the original request, is my understanding from what I've heard, and that may be incorrect. I'm sorry if it is. So I don't think we have a time frame. for when exactly that is, but we're well aware of it. It's well documented here, and we'll get an answer as soon as one's available.
I don't know, Mike, if your hand is still up or if you have something else to add, but we had Mike, and then we did for a while have Daryl. I don't know, Daryl's hand went up and down a couple times, but it's up. Maybe we take Daryl
Take Daryl.
first. Yeah, we'll bring Daryl.
Yeah, why isn't there a hard procedure for any type of request, whether it be through the meeting, through email, or any other method of communication? There should be a hard document that describes exactly what should occur, not some whim of, I might get to it this week or next week or in a month.
Right, can you state your name and your town of residence, please?
I live in White River Junction, Vermont. My name's Daryl Herrick.
Okay. Joe, go ahead.
Daryl, I think that's what we're trying to do right now, is to come up with an actual procedure. It just hasn't, there hasn't been one. So we're trying to come to an agreement of what that procedure is. And so everybody's on the same sheet of music, and there's no ambiguity about it. It is what it is. And I agree there needs to be one. And shame on us that there hasn't been one up until this point.
Is Mr. Morris still on?
His hand is still up. Yeah.
Sir, let me ask a question of Mr. Morris. Mike, I want to just make sure that I understand your questions correctly. Number one, you're looking for the cost of the cleanup of Prospect Street and the cost of the cleanup for the VFW parking lot. Is that correct? Yes or no? Can somebody bring Mike over?
He's muted.
Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Okay.
just a yes or no, please.
That's a yes on that
Okay.
question.
Okay, so that's one of the questions, quite clear, very, very clear, very good clarity there. So the second question that you have, Mr. Morris, just to make sure I have understanding on this, is that you want to know how many department heads in the town of Hartford are working from home, or are you looking for the number of employees total that are working from home?
I would have to answer by saying my initial question was how many employees? But then when I could not receive that answer, I asked a question that I thought would be easier for the town manager to answer, saying how many department heads? And I got answers to neither one of those.
Okay, so would you be happy if we could get an answer to how many department heads are working from home? Yes or no?
I would like to know total employees. I mean, I don't know why it matters whether the department has not. I thought it'd simplify things because I thought if it was complicated for the town manager, not how many employees, she might know at least how many of her 7 or 8 department heads. She could at least answer that.
I completely understand with you. Can we get through just department heads for right now? And then we can readdress the question of how many total people are working from home? Would you be happy with that answer for now, sir?
I'd resolve to that. That would be a good start, and I appreciate it. But before I forget, please, I have one other question, nothing to do with this, that I also want to ask to the select board before we're done.
Can I hold you up and just make sure that we are understood on these 2 questions that you want an answer from that are quite clear questions before we go any further? Those 2 questions, if we can get those clearly worded questions back to you, you're going to be happy? Yes?
Yes, I can live with that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. Carry on.
Yeah.
Okay, that seems pretty easy.
Okay,
Looks like Daryl put his hand, but well.
He had something more.
What's that?
He had something more he wanted to say.
Who, Mike?
Yeah, he had another question.
Okay, well, Mike and Daryl have their hands up. I'm just the one who points that out.
Okay.
Daryl.
so Mike, are you set or
Am I still on?
you are?
Okay, thank you. My other question and concern is completely away from all that, which you'll be pleased with, is that I learned last week that the covered bridge sidewalk is closed for pedestrians. It's 89 feet of sidewalk. Quechee, Vermont has, I think, less than 300 feet of sidewalk. And we've closed a major section which allows people to passage over the Ottaquechee River, which is the first time I've heard of since I got back out of the service in 1980, because we're having trouble keeping that sidewalk clear or clean for liability purposes, which astonishes me. Since 1980, that's 42 years that I know that sidewalk has been open and now it's closed because we took a recommendation from VLCT. I'm sorry. Last meeting or meeting before, it was mentioned by one of our, Joe, you're leaving us. I'm sorry you are. You said all of us in the town of Hartford deserve the same service. We have miles of sidewalks in Hartford. And we close off 89 feet in Quechee because we can't take the time to clean it, clear it, keep it salted and sanded. I find that a little disturbing, and I'm surprised that more people out here have not said anything about it. They're forcing them to walk into the road of a covered bridge. There's no escape route if a car gets too close to you or slides to you because of the railings, the way that bridge is built. We need to keep that sidewalk open. Go look at it, look in the snow, see how many footprints are there, and you'll see that people are still using it. Put up liability signs or something, but to close it off, I really find that, again, another word I used earlier, unacceptable. So I really wish we'd look into that. Like I said, it's a covered bridge. It's got mist. I know we have freezing rain or mist that freezes over. We need to take care, but we made a little bit more effort. We have miles in White River Junction of sidewalk we take care of. Right in front of my model home. It's the sidewalks slants. I'm surprised we've not been sued because of that, but can we please look into that and do something about it? Thank you.
Can we look into getting that sanded and putting up caution signs instead of just closing it?
I can look into that. We're towing a little bit of a line on directing work. So all I want to do is say I can look into that, but I can't promise you
That's what
anything
I'm asking you
because
to. I'm asking
we
you to look
have
into
to
it.
let the staff do what they
Yep.
do.
I'm
Okay.
asking you to look into it. Thank you.
How would you like an update? Would you like?
Hannah's had her hand up.
It's okay, Hannah, we got this one. Would you like an update?
I would like an update to me directly and to Mr. Morris.
Would you be happy with an email? to
I would
the
be happy
board?
with an email update.
And then you can forward that to the constituent?
Mr. Morris, you have Mr. Morris's email. You can email him directly.
Okay, so an email to the board and to the constituent?
Yes.
Okay. That's the level of detail that I think
that's fair.
we need to,
That's fair.
have clarity on.
That's fair. I'll take that.
Okay, is there anyone in public comment that hasn't spoken yet? Otherwise, I think we need to move on.
Daryl, but he has spoken, but
So
there.
Daryl, if you have a quick question, we'll give you a couple more minutes, but we need to move on.
Yep, that's fine. I just want to know what the board is going to do in terms of having a hard set procedure. Instead of pushing, you guys are kicking the can down the road here, hoping to resolve issues one at a time. Somebody on that board has to take ownership of saying, I'm going to draft something up. Here's a procedure for getting questions answered, whether it be in the meeting, email, phone call, whatever. There has to be a hard and fast way that's rock solid. So we're not feeling like transparency is just non-existent.
If I may answer that, Daryl, just so we're clear, we said we were going to put it on the next agenda so we could have a motion of exactly what we're going to do. So we answered that question already, sir. And we're not kicking the can down the road. I promise you that.
Okay, good. Thank you. Are there any select board comments or announcements?
I think we've had enough.
Dennis, go ahead.
Does anybody else have something first? Okay. Yes, I wanted to mention it to board members, and I don't know if any of you have similar concerns or not, but I read about the budget candidates night, the format for that. And if I read correctly, I believe it's 35 minutes between the town's presentation and the schools. And there can be questions if there's time left within the 35 minutes, if I read correctly. So presenting those two budgets is probably going to take a lot of that 35 minutes. So that may not leave much time for questions, but I did see, it sounds like after that and the candidates' time, there can be general questions after that, but that's a long time to have gotten away from the budget talk. So I am concerned about that. I read that the town manager is going to present this, and I was surprised to read that because in my past, the board has always figured out who was going to present that. And I don't ever remember it being discussed. And I know that we've had town managers do it. I know that the chair has done it. And I think maybe even a member has done it in the past. So I was just, I don't know how that decision came about, but I just, if you folks decided on it, I wasn't part of that because I didn't hear this. So I guess I was feeling a little bit left out on that. I don't know how we're doing things nowadays on that. And then also, if I, again, read this, I forget where I even read this. I think it was the paper. That the presenters of these budgets are the only ones that can respond to questions. And I'm concerned about that. As you know, we had a tough budget season here this year, particularly this year. And I just wonder if a person asks, why did 3 out of 4 members vote against this? What kind of answer they could get? It'd have to be somebody up there that would be impartial it would be nice. We're expected to be at these meetings. I know there's been some talk about us not being paid for the budget cycle meetings, but we're expected to be there. So I sort of expect, we have been paid, I believe, in the past for them. That's a separate issue. But in any event, if somebody asks somebody that, say, they ask Joe, why didn't you vote for the budget? I would hope you could answer that.
Yeah.
And give your view in the most appropriate way. So I'm hoping that other board members are sharing some of these concerns, because this is different than I remember in the past, and it could be very misleading to potential voters that are trying to make up their mind, should I vote for this budget or not? Well, the candidates is a separate issue, but I just wanted to bring those forth, and it's not going to be an agenda item, so I guess we can't really discuss it, but those are what I've been thinking, since I read that.
I think, Dennis, that there's a committee that is in charge of doing that, and I would reach out to Chuck and talk to him, because I think that's the same procedure that's been used at least the last 2 years. So I think that's why it's sort of carried over. So, and I think he did a good job last year with, and I think there were over 200 people on the call.
Chuck does a fantastic job.
So I would bring those concerns to him ahead of time, and then maybe he can discuss those at the beginning of the meeting.
So yeah, this is the budget and candidate day is run by the town and school budget committee along with the moderator, and then Lisa O'Neill, the town clerk, does weigh in because she is our subject matter expert on all of this. So all of this is prescribed, and I really stay out of it, besides checking any documents for typos and being another set of eyes. So I would really suggest that you reach out to the moderator and to the town and school committee and hear their thoughts on what the whole basis is for how they run it. And they do still have one more opening on that committee.
So I couldn't even have told you that we actually had a committee at this time. Shame on me. Because like the last 2 or 3 years, I know that me and I think Mr. Collins and some others there have gone out and put signs because they didn't have members. So I didn't even realize that we had that many members on this committee. So that was, I understand this committee's responsibilities and whatnot, but the committee has never picked who was going to present the budgets that I know of. So I don't think that's a committee thing.
Yeah, reading right from the statute. I'm sorry, were you done, Dennis? I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Reading
If the
right
chair
from the
allows.
Reading right from the statutes, it does say that presentation, explanation of, and citizen comment upon town and school district budgets. However, it does not say who it is that does the presentation of the town or the school budget. And in the past, Mr. Brown is correct. It always has been discussed and voted upon by the select board members who would be presenting the budget. So I also found it very troubling to see that it was automatically decided that the town manager was going to do this, because nowhere within this statute does it say anything about the town manager doing the presenting on this. And I do believe that when the budget comes from the department heads, it goes to the town manager, and then it comes to the select board. And it is the select board's budget. And that bothers me somewhat, that the select board's budget is being presented by the town manager. Because it is our budget once it leaves the town manager. We have the authority and responsibility to present it to the townspeople of the town of Hartford when it is our budget. If we should choose to give that authority to the town manager, that's one thing, but we need to discuss that within this board to give her the authority to present that budget. It clearly states that within the statute.
Thank you. I'm not necessarily against the town manager doing it. It's just in the past, we've always discussed it. And I'm very sure that Leo, when Leo Puller was here, he did it at least once, maybe more. I think Simon did it once. I think Dick Grassy did it once. So I know members have done it. And I think Simon did it when he wasn't even an officer. So I just, it seemed like a missing step to me that we should have discussed this, who's going to do it. I don't want to do it. Let's be clear on that one. And I don't know that any of you that don't want to do it or maybe invite doing it, but we haven't had that discussion. And that's what I thought we should have had.
And I have to plead ignorance on this one, Dennis, to be honest with you. Just the last couple of years, the town manager had done it since I've been on the board. So I'll be honest with you, I just thought that it was the town manager. So I'm, it for me not to know that, shame on me. And I am willing to go any way that the board has a consensus on. But I was just under the impression that it was just the town manager's responsibility. So that's that. As far as that's concerned, that's on me.
And just to let you know, Tracy did ask me if I wanted to present the budget, and I said, I'm totally okay with you presenting the budget because the information, she's gonna have more access to the numbers and access to the department heads that can answer those questions. So I feel it would kind of be, if I was presenting, it would be a Tracy, Hannah, Lori, that I wouldn't necessarily have the detailed information that what people were looking for. And that was a procedure that we used last year, was that Tracy presented it. So I was happy when she volunteered to do it, to let her do it again. So I'm sorry if I didn't, I'm sorry if I was supposed to ask you. I was just following the procedure that we used last year, since we're again in the pandemic and are going to have a different type of meeting than we traditionally have. So, Manny.
Yeah, with all due respect, Mr. Chairman, I don't believe you have the authority to designate Tracy by yourself to present the budget. That is something that should come before this board as a whole.
What's the statute?
That is 24 VSA chapter 123A 201. I don't feel that you should make that decision to direct the town manager on one alone. It's disingenuous for you to do that without consulting the board. That's not within your authority.
I don't know how y'all want to fix this though, because this is coming up before you meet again. So in terms of steps forward, it's not an agenda item, so you cannot make a motion or vote on this. So this might be a consideration if you would like to make this to be a special meeting, to have this be a special meeting.
Okay.
But just letting you know, this is not an agenda item right now, again.
Just for the for the sake of, Dennis, do you have any issue with the town manager presenting the budget?
I would like to hear other board members' views on this, I guess. Again, if we, I didn't mean to jump on the.
No,
tail
no.
on this, but it was a difficult budget and well, it's, I don't know how we would do it and not have somebody that would be biased up there because, you know, if knowing that I voted against it, you know, if I ran over the budget, I would try my best to be neutral on it when I presented it, but you know, I have that bias. And likewise, I'm not going to speak for the town manager, but I mean, I believe she was for what was voted or what the board voted for. So, you know, could she have a bias towards that in presenting it? So I don't know but I just thought we should discuss this. And then if there is time within that 35 minutes for questions and somebody asks the presenter, which according to what I read would be the town manager, you know, could that person, you know, without bias answer, you know, why did people vote against it? Or why did people vote for it? Or, you know, and so I want to paint as clear a picture when that meeting happens to the citizens as we can. How we do that, I'm not sure.
Well, first of all, someone has to do it. And whomever does it, they're going to have some sort of leanings toward it. I think
We should hire an outside person.
I mean, the person, ideally, the person who is most equipped should be, excuse me, I have a mint in my mouth, the town manager should be. That said, we're all going to be there. And, you know, 3 of the 4 of us, or 4 of, 3 of the 7 of us that voted against it, and 4 of the 7 of us that voted for it will also be there. So I think we can answer any questions as to why we voted for or against, because we'll be there. And look, I have the utmost confidence in Chuck that he will manage the time aspect for us to answer whatever questions, particularly in the current format that it will be. So I you know, in Chuck we trust. So
Yes, we do.
So I don't have a problem with the town manager presenting the budget. However, I do have a problem with the town manager being the one who was the only one to address questions. I think if someone wants to ask one of us that voted against this budget why we did it, it's going to be disingenuous against the spirit of this board that we should have the town manager answer for us. I want to be able to address my concerns about this budget. And Mr. Brown does, and I'm sure you do, of why you did not vote for this budget. And same on the people that did vote for this budget, why they're supporting it. It's not fair to us because it is our budget at this point in time. We should be able to address our concerns about our budget. That's where I have the line that I think is being crossed here.
Well, a couple of things. I mean, I always thought, you know, you argue the budget, you bring up the points, you vote for and against, and then it is our budget. I don't know if it's common for select board members during a meeting like this to actively argue against the budget that the select board's adopted, but that's just a procedural thing.
It's not arguing against it, though.
I mean,
It's presenting why
it is
I
something
voted
the
for it.
select board adopted, and we had our chance to debate, we had our chance to vote against it. I mean, at some point it's ours, right? I don't know. That may just be a different philosophy. But Dennis, I think it may make, I think these concerns are addressed to the town and school district, the school and town meeting committee. In the statute, there's a school and town meeting committee that shall organize, arrange, and provide for the comfort, presentation, publicity, program, refreshments, entertainment, and other non-statutory aspects of the town meeting cycle, such as budget and candidates night. So I think they are the ones under this who set it up and decide how it's going to be organized. So I mean, giving them a call and saying, you know, we want to make sure there's an opportunity for people on the board to, you know, answer questions, things like that. I think that is probably the place to go. So.
Would all of this be alleviated with the sentence, questions of a general policy or policy nature will be postponed to the general Q&A session? And the guidelines for the general Q&A session are budget presenters and any school or select board member who will be answering budget questions should join candidates on stage. It's a virtual stage this year, so everyone can be easily seen and heard. Each questioner will have a 60-second time limit to pose a question directed towards one of 3 categories: the town budget, the school budget, or to a specific candidate. If the question asker does not specify, the moderator chooses the primary responder. Budget answer questions will be answered by budget presenters. Candidate questions will be answered by candidates, but it could be considered a general question.
Right.
And again, I think we're all playing in a sandbox that we're not the experts in when it comes to these nuances.
The problem that I have with that is that the public question and answer period could be following the school board presentation period. If we go first and they go last, it's quite a bit of time from when the school budget's put on. If the school budget put on first, people could be there just to hear about the school budget and leave. People are there about the town budget, they could be there about the town budget and leave. I believe the question and answers should be directly following the budget that was presented, to cut to a certain length of time. I understand we cannot go on all night long, but to wait, you're going to have a lot of people drop out that were only there concerned about one budget or the other budget. And that's not fair to have people, you know, for that to happen.
I mean, I don't disagree with you, Lanny. I do think that, you know, that committee sets this up, you know, I
Not
mean,
our call.
if we want to tell them what we think and how we think it should be arranged, we should let them know. I mean, I don't disagree with a lot of what you're saying. I just don't, we can't really do anything about it, you know? So, I mean, just,
Well,
I'd be happy, if, you know, if we want to figure out, you know, what we would like to see it look like and just call up someone on the committee or meet the committee, you know, a couple of us or do it in a session. I mean, that's fine with me, you know?
I'd be happy to go with you and do that, because I
Okay.
think that there's a lot of people that only come for one segment of that meeting and then leave afterwards.
Yeah.
And for them, and they would be happy to ask questions, but they don't want to wait around all night long.
Yeah, no, I
So
I
if
agree
they
with
can
that.
get their questions answered about the segment that they're interested in right then and there, it would be far better off. If you set something up, sir, and you let me know when it is, I will try to make my schedule available to do it.
Anything else? Okay, let's go to appointments. First up, we have town health officer reappointment recommendation. William, better known as Brett Mayfield, is a local health officer for the municipality of Hartford, Vermont, with a 3-year term.
I'd like to make the motion that we reappoint William Brett Mayfield as the local health officer for the municipality of Hartford, Vermont for a 3-year term.
Second.
Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Ally?
Aye.
Okay,
Brett's got
thank you.
something left to say.
If I could have 30 seconds.
You're already in, Brett.
I know, yeah.
You're already in, Brett. Come on now.
Save it for 3 years from now.
Information that you can use later if you need to use this information.
I thought we had that train running out of the tracks pretty good too.
So I just wanted to give a quick update as of yesterday on coronavirus in our local area here, so that if you need that information later, it's available for you. As of yesterday, and this pretty much stayed the same today, but these are the figures from yesterday. In Windsor County, there were 5 new cases. Now, we obviously know people are testing at home, but those people are not going to a place where further testing would take place. They would be in the count of 5, just so you understand. in the Upper Valley area, so we have an Upper Valley area now that is being counted from New Hampshire and Vermont. The Upper Valley area had dropped yesterday to 3.8%. And the the county that is on the other side of the river that does influence us, Grafton County, which includes part of the Upper Valley, but Grafton County, that was 5.8%. So if you've seen the state map today or yesterday, or it did this, and now it's a straight line coming down. The governor today and the commissioner of schools of education. So the governor's, waiting to see what the next 2 weeks will bring. But the commissioner of education, they stated that their recommendation is through February for masks in schools, and they will greatly consider at the end of February where that goes. The states of Massachusetts, Connecticut, and Rhode Island all dropped all their mask mandates, including the schools. Now, the governor felt that might be a little early, but that's the update as of today. So if you need that later.
Thank you. Brett.
And if I may, Brett, thank you. I know that, I asked you to give that update, and I appreciate you doing that. And I appreciate you staying an hour extra for your reappointment. And I appreciate what you do. It is a heavy lift. And with all of your other duties for the town, I just want to say that, at least from me and this board, that we greatly appreciate it.
Well, I want to pre-warn those candidates out there, you that will be on the select board in the next 24 months. Seriously start looking at how we can, I guess I could say, professionalize or integrate the health and wellness of the town into a better working frame. So when I do retire, it'll be a permanent, sustainable situation. And that's more or less why I've asked to do this, is to help that transition. So thank you. Yes.
I guess I'm remiss. I should ask you, you are wanting to be health officer for another 2-year term, right?
Well, yeah.
Okay.
It's I'm committed to the town of Hartford and the community, and I'm to walk away with the action that you all know is out there would not be behoove.
I'm sorry, I'm remiss. I should have asked you before I just made the motion. So
Well, I put the application
Okay.
forward. So, but I do want to say the town definitely needs to move forward and look at how this, working with the town manager, the department heads, and the select board of health, make this a strong community around health, public health and welfare, which I know is an agenda item for many people. So I'm here to help in that process for the next few years.
Okay, thank you very much, Brett.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brett. Okay, up next, we have the reappointment of Bruce Riddle to the Planning Commission for 3 years. Questions or comments? Hearing none, we'll entertain a motion.
I can make the motion, I think. I move that the select board reappoint Bruce Riddle to the Planning Commission for a 3-year term beginning February 8th, 2022 and ending February 7th, 2025.
Like to second that?
Any questions, comments, or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And Ally,
Aye. Aye.
unanimous, thank you. Okay. Thank you, Bruce, for stepping up again for 3 more years. That'll bring us over to Tracy for town manager's report.
Yeah, first off, taxes are due Friday. So at this point, you probably are too late to mail a check. So come on over and see us here at Town Hall, Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. We're short-staffed because of COVID. So you might see the treasurer, John Clerkin, or you might see another department head or myself taking your check over the next couple of days. So swing by and say hi and see who takes your money. Speaking of which, just wanted to thank all of my department heads and Parks and Rec staff for pitching in at finance. We're answering the phones for finance staff, taking down messages and doing some basic work so they can have 2 folks up at the window. Another shout out to Department Public Works. I know you guys are watching or you're going to watch tomorrow. I know you're going to be here in a few hours to remove some snow. They've done about 40 hours of overtime between Friday and Monday, and they had more on Monday, and they will be out here between 10 and midnight tonight doing snow removal. So they're tired. We're keeping them in snacks as much as we can. And so as part of that, I do want to give people some reminders, thank yous, and would be greats. The fire department wants to ask if you feel so inclined to adopt a hydrant. With these snowstorms and with our plowing, they do get a little covered up in snow. So if you see one and you want to adopt it and dig it out, go ahead and help out and dig out your neighborhood hydrant. We do hit those and do drive-bys, but every one that we don't have to stop and dig out is one less hydrant we have to stop and dig out. Chief Cooney and his team want to remind everybody that generators should be used outdoors. Stay away from downed wires. Call Green Mountain Power. They will be out quick as a flash. And if your heat stops working, make sure that you're mostly relying on safe ways of getting extra heat, keeping those away from things that can burn, and turning off portable heaters. Besides that, inside the town, we have a little bit of news. We've moved one of our staff members over to a retired part-time position in the coming months over at Parks and Rec. So Karen is absolutely amazing. We're really excited to be able to have her as a cooperative shared position, even past her retirement. So we are looking for a part-time administrative assistant in Parks and Rec. It's a pretty fun position. And we are excited to have Karen as much as we are legally allowed to have Karen, while also getting her some quality of life as a retiree. On my end, we have a couple of tedious things that we're dealing with the website. We are doing site mapping. So we are checking every link. We are working with every department head to see what they need and what they don't need, including our junk drawer, the document center, and all of the old committees that are still hanging out from about 7 years ago. So we're working on migrating all of those over, making sure everything works. And then again, I'm just putting out a call for interested people who would like to join the advisory group for the police chief search process. It's a group that helps provide perspective and feedback to me. And they'll be focusing on feedback related to the candidate profile, the marketing materials, and then participants in the interview process. We have one member of the select board open. Current members, you're always welcome to email me and also express your interest. We're also pulling forth a staff member of the police department, one of our other department heads, and 3 members of the public. We are reaching out to members of our social service agencies and Hartford School District staff as well to allow them the opportunity to apply. I'm good.
I want to back up a second. We haven't voted and decided we've got to have anybody on that police search committee yet from the select board. So
I asked for nominations and just if people were interested to email me. It's something that's totally at my discretion. So
for the people on this board that want to be on that selection committee, the board makes that decision of who's going to be on that committee.
It's not a selection committee, it's an advisory group. The selection lies with me.
Right, but the advisory group is made up of an individual from the select board yet to be determined.
Yes, we have one person who's interested. If you're interested, please reach out and let me know that you're interested.
I am interested.
Please email me so that way I have a record of you being interested because we're keeping files on
Okay.
all of that.
You can write it down now and I will email it to you tomorrow.
Thank you so much. That's it for me.
Okay, because of the time, let's take a 5-minute break and come back here at quarter of. And we'll regroup. Everyone's
Oh, so it
accent.
wasn't a big deal. It was -6 for me.
No,
You
yeah.
think less of me if I told you last time.
We gotta hang out more often.
Okay, so that will bring us to the authorization of the face covering rule.
Hey, Heidi's Mike. I'm just watching the meeting. See you were there talking with Lanny in the break. Just want to let you know, keep up the good work. Stay on top of things. We'll keep things going. Take care. Appreciate it. Bye.
What?
Oh,
That was
yeah.
Mike.
Mike Morris.
Oh. Right. All right, so where are we at?
So we're at
That's
the face
awesome.
covering reauthorization. Dennis, go ahead.
Thank you again, Mr. Chair. I was enlightened earlier when the health officer spoke to us and his information. So I see I think the plan with this is to make this continue till April, and I'm curious if that's something that we have control over, that date. I'm just wondering, I guess where I'm going with this is I was just wondering if we should do this for 30 days at a time, see where we're going with the decline. I think I'm all for continuing it. I just don't know how long.
You have to reauthorize it every 30 days. The bill itself expires at the end of April.
Okay, so this, tonight, what we would move would be 30 days.
Correct. You have to, every 30 days, we have to meet again and either reauthorize the rule or let it sunset. If you reauthorize tonight, it goes to March 8th. If you let it sunset, it ends on Friday, the 11th.
If there's no more discussion, Mr. Chair, I'd like to,
Wait a minute.
okay, there is discussion. Never mind.
So, and in my travels about the town of Hartford, I've seen a significant amount of people not wearing a face mask. And I'm not going to vote for this thing, but I'm just telling you that this thing has absolutely no teeth whatsoever. And it's one of these things that people are going to wear it or they're not. You can't, if you're not going to enforce this, it carries no weight, in my opinion, whatsoever. And it doesn't make any sense to carry forth on it. I'm going to vote against this for reasons that I stated last time. Mr. Mayfield's presentation even firmed it up for me even more. The numbers are dropping, and I believe that it's an oversold device at this point in time. People can either choose to wear it or not wear it, but I don't believe we should have a mandate out there for people, forcing them to wear face masks, especially when we cannot have any enforcement. That's my thoughts on it.
Thanks, Lee. I think that the news we heard from Brett is encouraging. In a lot of ways, it looks like maybe we're finally starting to turn a corner, although we said that before. I will vote to support this for another 30 days and then see in March. If we continue on a trajectory like this, we may be having an entirely different discussion in March. It seems like it's been fairly workable since we passed it. And I would hate to do something a little too prematurely. So I'll support it for 30 more.
The one thing that I can say that we do is we give local businesses and organizations cover if it's like no shoes, no shirt, no service. If people come in and they aren't wearing a mask, the organization or the business can call, and people refuse to wear a mask, they can call and have Hartford PD come over for trespass. Well, at the very least, we give those businesses that want it, and there's been a significant number, cover to be able to do that. I agree that I'm hopeful that by the end of this month that we'll be pretty much out of this. And since it goes to the 8th, I think if it was any longer, I would have paused. But since it goes to the 8th of March, I am going to vote for it. I won't be on the board after that.
Just another comment. I'm really willing to do anything I can do to help us get back down to zero of this virus. And I know that's probably a dream, but I really would like to get over this as soon as possible, and whatever I can do to contribute to that, I'm willing to do. And with that, I'd like to move that we continue our mask mandate under the guidelines we approved last month for another 30 days.
Second,
Second.
any other questions or comments? Hearing none, we'll call the question. So let's do a.
Aye.
Nay.
Aye.
Aye.
And Ally?
Aye.
Okay, so we have everyone in favor except for Lanny, who's opposed. Okay, that'll bring us to outdoor dining in downtown White River Junction.
All right, David, would you bring Hannah on over, please? All right, I'm gonna let Hannah take the wheel on this one. Hannah is, there she is.
All right, good evening, everyone. So this has been a topic of discussion for this is our third year. And although this is kind of conflicting, we're very excited that we opened some very favorable bids for the South Main Street project on Monday that will be coming to you in our next session to award a bid. But what it also presents is some challenges in employing the on-street dining as we have in the last couple of years. And I know I've enjoyed the on-street dining, and that's something that we know has really contributed to the vibrant downtown that we have. Unfortunately, with our construction projects, that's going to be happening. We don't see a way that that's going to be possible. And so we wanted to come before you tonight in an informational discussion before it comes before the local liquor control board. When applications come forth to, just have the opportunity to tell you why we were going to tell you that we can't allow that this year. So I guess I'll kind of allow you guys to ask questions. We do have some printouts of the plans for the general area for where we have allowed the on-street dining before, so you can understand why that's going to be a real challenge for us physically. We're really optimistic that we're going to break ground shortly and be improving all of our water, sewer, green stormwater infrastructure, road surface improvements, pedestrian surface improvements. So ask questions. We're excited to be employing some improvements. And we're hopeful that we can find some ways that maybe we can find some compromises. And maybe this is a good way for us to take like a 1-year pause and find some ways that we can have a really consistent program for evaluating, parklets or on-street dining or sidewalk dining for many of our businesses in our downtown.
Thank you, Hannah. Dennis, go ahead.
Thank you again, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I realize this is a major undertaking, and I'll be very glad when it's all done and over with. I just wonder, I know if I was a owner of one of these businesses down there, what I'd be thinking. And I was just curious if there's any thought given to doing the sidewalk side of the construction and then switching that, completing that, and then getting over to the Briggs Park, what I call Briggs Park side of the things. And if that was to happen, if it's possible for that to happen, if they could do some form of outside dining and shift things around, and it just seems a tall order to just shut that down completely with the, we're still having, I don't know what the summer brings with the virus, the pandemic, but if we're telling people limited seating or inside the restaurant, and then we cut off the outside dining, I think the outside dining is probably here to stay. I mean, it's been pretty popular. I know I've been down there a couple of times and really enjoyed it. Realizing if they were outside, they'd probably be surrounded by construction stuff and dirt piles or whatever. But I was just curious if there's could something be set up for outside dining? This is I don't know how the town would be responsible for this, but they have the inner circle of the horseshoe, I'll call it, of the Coolidge. If they could have switched and had it inside there while the construction's going out on the street. I just wonder if any of these things have been explored to try to help these merchants with their on-street dining.
Hannah, you want to take that or do you want me to?
I'm happy to. So the unfortunate part of a contract with a construction company is that things like dictating phasing and timing goes into what we call means and methods. So we're not actually allowed to dictate, how a construction company tackles a project, because that would put us at a liability for construction costs or timing or other things like that. In terms of using other spaces, I think the town we are very excited to explore different options like that. Like using private spaces, like, in that horseshoe area that Dennis was talking about. So the town of Hartford doesn't have say over that. We're happy to, work with private property owners as much as possible. And, I do think we have some good ideas about, working with other town spaces while we're under construction to provide some seating and other things. But, this is to put out the on-street dining in its current iteration would be nearly impossible this year, unfortunately.
Thanks, Hannah.
Further? Thank you again. Yeah, thanks, Hannah, for that explanation. I just do wonder still about, I don't know about big bid projects like this, but I guess what I just wonder about is I'm assuming that we'll be able to continue traffic through there. So we'll have bidded it out so that there'll be some measure of providing traffic, whether it's rerouted or whatever, and that goes into the bid. So I was just wondering if when the bids, which sounds like they must have all gone out, but if we had bid it that way, that the construction company will work with merchants to, do one half, one side and do the other side later or some such thing. But it sounds like that ship may have sailed.
Ally and Hannah have their hands up.
So, yeah, go ahead, Hannah.
So for clarity, we actually opened bids on Monday. So that means if we award that contract, we're essentially committed to the contract in the manner in which it was released and bid on. So the contract in its current version provides that there is always pedestrian access to, our sidewalks, our streets, to all of our businesses, that our contractor will always work very closely with the town of Hartford and the consultant to ensure that access. Unfortunately, geographically tight as our downtown is, and the location of the utilities and construction that has to take place, it would be very, very challenging to work accommodations for on-street dining into the contract, both from just a constructability point of view, but also from a safety perspective. Contractors really, when they take ownership of a construction site, they're taking ownership of that from a safety liability perspective. So I can understand that they, may not want to take that on, that they were ensuring that they were providing a safe space for people to sit outside and eat. There's literally construction happening possibly feet away, where they require their employees to wear eye protection, respiratory protection, hearing protection. It's something from, a practicality standpoint that is probably impossible to put out there. And I have a lot of faith that we have a consultant team, our team at Public Works, and the contractor who is the apparent low bidder, which I can't quite release yet, that we have a really, really great team that can make the most of very tight space in a very complicated project and get that done to the benefit of the town of Hartford tax and ratepayers.
Thanks, Anna. Very good.
Anna, do you by chance have anything for a Gantt chart that would show when you're looking to do that section of North Main Street?
So we don't right now. And really the biggest complicator right now is the ability to secure product. We have been talking with pipe suppliers who are truthfully talking about for the 12-inch ductile iron water main that we're looking at trying to get installed there, that it may not be available to until late June or July. But ultimately, we have a lot of prep work that we can be doing and taking advantage of the competitive pricing that's available right now, and continuing to move forward with this project.
So can I assume that for a majority of the summer, we're going to be looking at dirt down there, correct?
There will be portions of the street that are excavated and treated for travel.
And I'm sure your contractor has a plan in place for dust mitigation at least.
That is all part of the contract that's associated with, they have state of Vermont standards for air quality control and water surface pollution control.
Okay, thank you. I just like to see that these businesses can still operate to the best extent possible. And I think you've made arrangements for that. Thank you.
Yeah, and I'm really excited. I've talked to Tracy a little bit about it, and I know we haven't quite had the time to get this into place. But in speaking with the engineering team on this project and some of our local partners, we are pretty excited to kind of roll out some partnerships in getting, whatever we need to do to make sure that there is plenty of marketing and outreach and communication around getting to our downtown. We're still open. We have construction cookies ready to market, whatever things that we can get out there, social media, whatever else, to ensure that our downtown is still accessible, vibrant, whatever we can do to mitigate noise, dust, traffic interruptions, which I'm sure sounds very, it sounds like a big bite, but we're really excited to take these things on. And I think we can do a great job with this, especially I know Tracy's working so hard with the new website. I'm really excited. I've experienced some downtown projects in some of my previous careers. I know that Aldrich and Elliott did a lot of work in Brandon, Vermont on some of their big Route 7 projects, and they're excited to work with us and, you know, maybe try some new things. So I don't know. I'm kind of like construction being geeky right now, but I'm excited about a lot of things that we can do to work with our community and the public and just do some good messaging about the good things that are coming out of the project and keeping our downtown in working order.
Thank you, Hannah.
Ally's got her hand up, and then Mike Morris has his hand up.
Go ahead, Ally, when you're ready.
Yeah, thanks. So I'm curious about the parklet policy, like the example policy in Montpelier that's included in the memo. Because I think to Dennis's point, it would be great if there would be some sort of possibility to have any sort of downtown or street outdoor dining, especially as businesses are still trying to recover and the pandemic is still ongoing. So Hannah, and Tracy, I don't know if you can speak to, and it sounds like Hannah, you know, because of just sort of the density of that area, maybe this isn't possible to have sort of like, oh, at a certain phase of the construction project, like maybe on a case-by-case basis or application basis, like a certain restaurant would be able to have, you know, a spot or two available as the construction is ongoing. I don't know if that's if the parklet policy is an opportunity for that, or if it's something where it's like, it's kind of going to be a lot of, you know, excavation and there's not really going to be a safe way to do it at any point, or if there might be these opportunities for kind of like piecemeal as a project is going, kind of popping up and handled on a case-by-case basis.
I think we want to be really clear. It will not be safe or appropriate to have people dining out on the street at all during this construction process. So we're talking about summer 2023. Again, means and methods means we can't say, can you do this spot and then this spot, because we need to put parklets over here, here, and here. And then also we're going to be, you know, it's true, there's going to be piles of dirt and pipe and digging machines and folks with orange vests hollering at each other, and it's just not going to be a great space for that. So we are looking at things like parklets for summer 2023. And this halt does allow us to do a little bit more of a comprehensive dining plan for outdoor dining that isn't solely tied to the liquor control board.
Got it. Thank you.
Dennis, go ahead.
I think did you just say 23?
I'm saying there's no possibility for outdoor dining in summer 2022 as we do this project. We're really thinking about a comprehensive outdoor dining plan, including parklets for summer 2023.
Okay, thank you.
Knowing that we're going to finish this construction, we're going to go into winter, and then we're going to be able to think about this in a more holistic standpoint.
Yeah, thank you.
Mike Morris has his hand up.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, thank you, Mike Morris, Hartford, Vermont. With all this that's going on with the downtown dining, is it, just thinking out of the side of the box, there's a lot of these dining places, I think they also have back side entrances where they could possibly do outside dining out there to do something extra, but I'm concerned about the parking this summer with construction of the parking lot and everything else. And have we reached out to any of the local businesses of offering spaces to help out? I mean, like myself, my model home, I mean, I rarely have 1 or 2 vehicles there. There's room for 6 or 8 or 10 vehicles that I'd welcome people to park there to, you know, to cater to the downtown area and to see what we're gonna do about parking for this summer. That's one of the concerns along with the dining. So I'm just asking if we reached out to any of the businesses on this stuff.
Mike, that is on the list of things that we want to do now that we have the bids open, and we'll be ready to announce that bid soon. That's when we'll be working with those organizations to reach out to our community stakeholders and ask if we can let people know that they're free to park in other places when they are low on parking. For that spot in the back, kind of similar to Wolf Tree, like we were just talking about, like Hannah was saying, that's private property. We're more than happy to do everything in our capacity, but we need to really let that be guided by the private property owners and work with them to see if we can meet all of our requirements for health and safety.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Anything else from anybody?
Nope.
Hannah, anything else you want to add?
Shaking her head.
Okay, great. Okay, good. All right, that will bring us to tax increment financing district annual report.
Yeah, I'm gonna switch from Hannah Tyler to Lori Hirschfield.
I'm back. So I wanted to just briefly go over what the TIF program annual report does entail. There are a couple of you on the board that have not had the opportunity to go through this process in the past. And we are required every year to complete an annual report, and that is what is before you. There are specific requirements outlined within state statute, as well as the rules that have been adopted by the legislature in terms of what we need to report on. Among that, it has to do with what the revenue is projected to be, what it has been to date, and how much of the increment that is coming into the downtown and what that is. Now, the report that you're seeing is the one of fiscal year 21, and which is based on Grand List 20. And so those are the numbers that we're dealing with. It seems a little bit challenging. I think of this sometimes for people to think, oh, well, it's really been over 6 months when we closed out our last fiscal year, and that is true. But that is the way the reporting process goes. I highlighted for you a few statistics, which I think are great for us to note. In the highlighted report for the 21, we had $1,973,765,000 spent on public infrastructure projects. Principally, that was for the first phase of the South Main, North Main, Gate Street project, which we are now going into the second phase of that, which Hannah just spoke about. There also, within that context, was finishing up some work along Currier Street, some planning and design work for the South Main Street parking lot, and some planning and design work that related to what we call the town square parking lot, which is across from the Hotel Coolidge. And within that same fiscal year, since the beginning of 2011, the total taxable value of properties in the district has increased fairly significantly. It's 26,000 and a little over to 26,209,100 for municipal, and it's slightly less than that for state education. And the reason why there is a differentiation in that is that the state does give some discounts on valuation of properties that meet certain requirements for housing, affordable housing. And another statistics, which I think is also really great for you to note, is the number of dollars within the report, which shows how much increment is being collected currently on an annual basis. And I think, as was identified in my report in the last, on the 25th, when you were actually approving the bond funds and how you were going to do it, we are actually doing quite well in terms of the increment that's being collected on an annual basis. And right now, that is, at least for FY21, that was 534,489, and that's an annual.
Can I break in for a second?
Sorry, yeah, sure.
I'm just wondering, would it be possible to do a share screen and walk us through this? Because I'm totally lost. But maybe.
Okay, I'm sorry, I did not. Let me see if I can bring that up, okay?
I don't want to burden you too bad on that, Lori. I know you're dealing.
I'm not the best at doing a shared screen, but I do.
If it's not doable, it's not. It just helps.
No, I'm wondering can you pull that up more easily, Tracy?
Yeah, hold on just a second. Let me.
Thank you. I'll try as well on mine because here I do have the report up here.
What I'm gonna
And-
do is just open a PDF of the agenda. It looks like,
I just pulled it up,
I'm
Here
on
we
page
go.
but I'm
44.
trying to do the shared screen and that's what I'm trying to do and it's not,
Lori,
Let me
I've
s-
got it.
yeah,
I've got it
okay.
up. So
oh, there it is.
Just
Okay,
tell
did
me
you-
what page I'm
Okay.
going to.
So the first page is really the primary one that I was just speaking on, page
All
1.
right. Watch your eyes, everybody, as I scroll.
Okay, so on the report, so if you just scroll down there, you can see the base valuation and the taxable value as of April 1. And you can see that the difference between that of the increased value, which goes down there, it says increase, decrease in taxable values. You can see that the municipal was 26,200 right there. And then you can see what it was for the total education. Municipal increment, and that's the actual taxes that are being segregated out and put aside in our TIF district fund. And you can see at the end of our fiscal year 21, we had collected just for that fiscal year 534,489. And so we continue to have a very healthy balance coming in to cover our program needs. So that's the kind of the highlights that I have. But if you go through the report, as you walk through the report, there are a number of activities that they're talking about. So on the next screen, you can see that it talks about what are the infrastructure improvements that the town has done and how much has been reported in terms of activities. And so you can see there, I apologize for this. This is one of the challenges we have with the form that is provided to us by the state, is they only give us so many lines to put it in. And there's no way that until they change the form, the data is there on a spreadsheet and you click it on and you can see it. But unfortunately, they don't, if you close it down to move on to the next input screen, it overlaps a little bit. So that's more on the narrative of these, but what you can see again by the numbers is that we are making quite a number of investments in the projects every year. And this is one of the highest ones that we have. And you can tell that we are doing that because we have all the activity going on in the downtown for our public infrastructure that has been talked about just previously with Hannah.
Kim has her hand up.
Oh, yeah. Kim, go ahead when you're ready.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Thanks. Sorry to just be an attendee tonight, but it's 2:15 in the morning here, so I didn't want to jeopardize being a little sleepy. One question that I had previously that I'd still love the answer to, Lori, if it's available, is we have the 534,489 TIF revenue figure, which from previous meetings said it was higher than anticipated. Do you know what the anticipated amount was?
Oh, I'll have to pull that up. I'm sorry. I didn't have that at
It's
my
okay.
fingertips, but let me see. I think, I'm sorry, I don't have that.
It's okay. I'm
was
happy.
where we're off by maybe $20,000 difference. I
Okay.
think there's two factors I want to point to, is that what we had anticipated our income to be, and then where we had anticipated our need to expend that. And because of COVID, it put us behind a little bit. So we're actually doing much better off than where we thought we would be at the time that we were going to be drawing down the funds.
Okay, thanks. I guess I would, for both 2020 and 2021, eventually would really love to know the
Yeah, I certainly,
anticipated stuff.
and I know I had that for the last meeting on the 25th, and I so much apologize for not pulling that up, and I will get that to you.
Not a problem. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thanks.
Thanks, Kim.
Kathy from Wilder had her hand up a minute ago. I know she had a question at the beginning of the meeting. Kathy, you want to?
Hi, this is Kathy Melisick. I had a question about the TIF is so complicated. I hope someone can help me with this. I had a question on the report to the state under real property development. Items 6 and 7 that mention Northern Hospitality property owner pursuing redevelopment. Could someone explain what that is in those two particular items?
Okay, Northern Hospitality is the name of the entity that owns the Hotel Coolidge. And they are they have had a development plan that was put forth as part of our downtown revitalization plan in 2009 and is part of the basis on which redevelopment of the TIF or the creation of the TIF district was based on that property redeveloping. We've had many other parcels within the district that were did not have a plan about redevelopment that actually have redevelopment developed since then. For example, the former Legion building, that was not on the radar of anybody, so we weren't counting on it to be generating income, and in fact was considered a nonprofit entity, so wasn't going to be generating any extra money into the TIF district for Increment. Well, and there are many other properties like that that we've had throughout the district. Northern Hospitality is one of the ones that has been identified since the beginning of the plan for redevelopment, and they are looking at that as they have been, and but it's in a very early stages, and it's something that may come to fruition or may not, but it's just something we're reporting on.
Okay, thank you. And did you say the Legion redevelopment was a nonprofit entity?
Well, no, when it originally was owned, when we went forth with our downtown district plan, it was owned by the Legion, which was a nonprofit.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
And since then it was bought out and redeveloped.
Thank you. And if I could beg the board's indulgence, I had my hand up during an earlier item and I wasn't called on, but could I have a moment to just say one quick thing about one of the appointments that you've already voted on?
Sure, go ahead.
I don't know whether Mr. Riddle was in person. I didn't see his name online on the Zoom list, but I've been disappointed with the tenor of recent planning commission meetings, and in particular the way some members of the public, including myself, have been treated. And I'm hoping going forward that Mr. Riddle in particular, since he's been serving as chair, will perhaps consider treating the members of the public with due respect, and certainly with the same amount of respect that developers coming before the board have been treated. And thank you for letting me say that now.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. And that was my fault, Kathy, not noticing that, so I apologize.
That's okay. And thank you, Lori, and everybody who explained all this TIF stuff, because I need a PhD in it, but thank you.
Sorry. I hope, and Kathy, please, anytime you have any questions, just give me a call.
Thanks so much.
All right, Lori, did you want to add more stuff? Were you done? Where were?
So at this point, I open it up for the questions that you may have. I do want to just mention one thing, which that is the certification. And I do have a certification letter, which I did attach to this from Joe, indicating that he has reviewed all things in accordance to the required certification review. Most of that information is, again, on page 1, that he is responsible for doing that. The actual certification, it's page 1 of the report. And then there was an attachment that I sent along, supplemental that came. And there were some, and that basically said he had examined it and it does meet the requirements. We don't go through the formal certification, the sign off on it until actually after it's been presented to the select board, but he has done that review.
Thanks, Lori. Other questions from the board? Or anyone else, Mike?
No one up currently.
Okay. Thank you, Lori. So hearing none, we will entertain a motion. Joe, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move that the select board accept the fiscal year 2021 TIF annual report to the Vermont Economic Progress Council.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, we'll call the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone said aye? Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. Aye. My apologies.
Ally?
Aye.
Okay, so it's unanimous. Thank you. All right, thank you again, Lori.
You're welcome.
And that will bring us down to certificate of highway mileage.
Yep, one last time with Hannah Tyler.
All right. Good evening, everyone. This is our annual formality in which we approve the VTrans certificate of highway mileage so that we can get our quarterly highway mileage payments. They total, usually they fluctuate around $268,000 as a supplement from the state of Vermont to help us take care of our roads and bridges and stormwater systems. So I'm here tonight to get authorization from you all to get signatures and move forward.
Thanks, Hannah. Dennis, go ahead.
Thank you. I'm just curious if there's any difference between this and what we applied for last year. And the reason I'm asking this is that we have a little bit more travel because we have roundabouts now. And I don't know that this, I was just curious if there's any way, because we increased quite a bit of sidewalk here this year, and if any of that factors into this.
I am so excited that you asked that question. I won't hold everybody up to. I know that it's a little bit late, but because of the way that the certificate is written out, I did reach out to the state of Vermont and ask some of those questions. So unfortunately, our sidewalks and pedestrian features, those are unfunded mandates. And those are, some of the commitments that we take on when we commit to using state and federal funds for projects, even though unfortunately they're actually on state highways. So that's, kind of a little bit of heartache for public works that we, have been committed to some of these projects and are taking on new infrastructure that we have to maintain. But what I can tell you is that the town of Hartford has not taken on any new town highway miles that we will be getting funding for.
Okay, thank you for that information. If there's no other questions.
Yeah. Hannah, can you just very quickly explain by way of an example what class 1, class 2, class 3 state highway miles are? I mean, and what the different classes are? I guess I'm confused about our class 3. I know what class 4 is, but class 1 lane and class 3, I guess I don't understand that. Can you
Yeah,
explain?
so I'm happy to give kind of a general overview. I'm sorry, I don't have the VTrans, they call it their orange book, which provides all of the exact definitions. So ultimately, an example of a class 1 town highway would be Maple Street. So
Okay.
that is a road that VTrans is responsible for providing the large capital investments, but the town of Hartford is responsible for general maintenance. So like we plow it, but they did the big paving project this year. So, for example, that's why some of those, we had some sidewalk improvements, paving, line striping. That's why some of the traffic lights are still out of order that I know. I have heard from a couple people about, that project is still under contract. So that's a class 1 town highway.
Why is that only 1.7 miles though?
Because it only reaches from, so the only class 1 town highway that we currently have is from and I'm sorry, I can't remember the name of the bridge, but the bridge by Prospect Street and Listen Center out to about the
Terry Dudley Bridge.
Hartford Center Church, Hartford Village Center Church. That's the limits of our class 1 town highway for that road.
That's a Terry Dudley Bridge. Lovely. Yep, okay. All right, an
I
example
always
of
said
a,
Lyman Bridge,
no, Terry Dudley. All right.
Lyman.
Lyman Bridge, isn't this Lyman Bridge over here? That's Lyman Bridge?
No, that's Lehman Bridge over here.
Lyman Bridge, Lyman, okay, whatever.
Wow.
Whatever, whatever, it's too confusing. My apologies to whoever's out there that screwed
The
up. but-
Dudley Bridge is over by Lebanon Ford.
Okay, so class 2, example class 2, please. Just a road within Hartford.
So I don't know what they are off the top of my head, and I
Oh, okay,
don't wanna
all right.
commit and be on the record, but they're kind of our larger arterial roads. I would venture a guess, without committing to it, that like Quechee Main Street or Sykes Mountain Avenue is a class 2 town highway. Again, I'm sorry, I can't remember them all off the top of my head.
That's fine. All right. I'll get back to you offline. I would like to know though. So I'll get hold of you offline.
So that is actually all available on the VTrans Mapping Center. I'm happy to provide all that information to Tracy to disseminate with the board. It's all mapped out by town highway number, and it's very, very readily available on their mapping center.
All right, thank you, Hannah.
Yeah.
You good, Lanny?
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you.
Other questions? All right, hearing none, we'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I'd like to move that we certify the 2022 mileage, highway mileage.
So second,
Second.
Lanny, other questions or comments? Hearing none, we'll call the question. All
Aye.
in favor, say aye.
Hey.
Aye.
Ally?
Aye.
Okay, so it's unanimous. Thank you very much. Thank you, Hannah. So that will bring us to commission reports. Dennis, do you have anything tonight?
Yes, Mr. Chair. So I've had the pleasure of attending 2 Conservation Commission meetings that I found very interesting and educational for me, because I learned a lot from those folks. I bid them farewell here last night. It was my last, I think, meeting with them for a while. And so anyways, the meeting on the 31st was about the town forest timber harvest. And I'm learning as we go, but we have the town forest up there, and then we have the wildlife refuge. And this proposed timber harvest is in the town forest. And so the current proposal, the current plan is to harvest that wood through a local sawmill. And then that timber, the wood, the lumber from that would be given to cover. And they brought up how wood products have the lowest impact on the environment, because we have steel products and plastic products and such, but wood is right here and we're going to be using it. So I just found that very, very interesting. I love those guys. There were some concerns about logging in the town forest, and they've worked to address those. There was a lot of talk in with this about cutting doing the timber harvest, about whether this is good or bad, whether nature takes it on its own. I know I raised that question some time ago. And they just said a lot of things that I hadn't given any thought to. There was somebody that spoke from New Mexico that they deal with wildfires. And so that aspect, I think, was do this because it's favorable. But then there was another comment that was made about after you cut in the timber and do a timber harvest, you've got more wind going through there and sunlight that could dry things out and thus make it easier to have a fire. So there was opposing views on that, but I just thought this was very interesting. I was so glad that the heads of public input on this. And there's some concerns about where the landing is going to be in a truck turnaround, but they're working on that. And that's all I had from that meeting. And then the second meeting was the regular meeting. And this one was also kind of interesting. It had a lot of different information, but the only thing I'm going to talk about is the segment from the Hartford Salamander team, which I'm new to as well. And so they're very involved. In fact, way more involved than I imagined. They had last spring, it was lasted for a month to month and a half of when amphibians are, I think I have that right, salamander types, cross roads and get run over by cars. So these folks are out there, they spent till 2 a.m. some nights. They had a spatula to pick up the ones that didn't make it. And then they collected the rest and transported them across the road safely. But they had 65 people attend this. And these 65 weren't all Hartford residents. They're from all over the community. And so I wish we had that attendance here. But this is a powerful subcommittee of that, or however you want to call it. But many thanks to the Hartford Salamander team members and participants and whatnot, saving our salamanders and such. And
I
that's all
second
I
that.
have.
Instead of flipping a burger, you flip a salad.
I'm sorry, you got to take the good with the bad.
So you're suggesting we should have salamanders at our meetings to draw in crowds?
Yep, that would
It
work.
might work. you
I'm
know?
gonna need to check on the ability to have pets in town hall.
Okay. All right, thank you, Dennis.
All right.
Thank you to the salamander team, obviously, for doing that. It's important work.
Yeah, I don't have anything. I have heard about the salamander team's work, and I have heard that's a very valued thing. And my hat's off to anybody who can be out there rescuing amphibians.
I didn't say it, but the idea is that the salamanders are trying to get to vernal pools. And so they're helping some at least with that journey.
Thank you, Dennis.
The vernal pool isn't like your pool.
No, no. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would like to second a special thank you to Karen McNall and all she's given to the Parks and Rec department. She will be here part-time and full-time. She will be missed, but at least we get a little taste of her as she works part-time. And as far as the H. Corey, we are beginning the process of planning the Juneteenth celebration for this year. So I'm excited about that as well.
Nothing from me, thanks.
Okay. Ally, do you have anything?
Sure, yeah, I'm still thinking about the salamanders. Thanks, Dennis, that put a smile on my face. Just a quick update from the Ad Hoc Committee on Emergency Shelter. The board can be expecting at our next meeting on February 22nd to have kind of final culminating report from that committee, as our charge is up in March. So you can look forward to that, just to recap kind of all we've been working on and some maybe final recommendations for a path forward. Resilient Hartford is thinking about sort of what's next in addition to the Clifford Park Food Forest, which is, continuing to be underway. They had a great conversation about whether they want to reboot Resilience Week, which they've done in the past. A really great idea was brought up about a harvest festival, to have maybe like a harvesting competition between each of the 5 villages. So there's some really awesome creative ideas coming our way. And then just to add an update about H. Corey and a shout out to Maggie Ibrahim, who's our school district equity coordinator, and Tristan Upson, who's the principal of Hartford Memorial Middle School, myself, Joe, and Sarah Campbell from H. Corey were welcomed into the school this week. So I actually get to go in tomorrow morning again and had some great conversations with the middle schoolers. On Tuesday, we were invited to do kind of a Zoom panel conversation between the 4 of us, talking about H. Corey, the work that we do on the committee, how H. Corey was formed, why it's important, and why we need to be talking about racial equity in Hartford. And so we recorded that video. The students watched that video with their social studies teachers, And then Joe, Sarah, and I were invited to go into the classrooms for follow-up conversation and had some incredible conversations with middle schoolers. So I just really, again, want to shout out Maggie and Tristan and the middle schoolers and the middle school social studies teachers for welcoming us into the classroom, for being so open to these conversations, and for asking really great questions.
Thank you, Ally. All right, what else? Good. All right, that will bring us to agenda. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move that we approve payroll ending February 5th, 2022. Approve meeting minutes of January 25th, 2022, excuse me, and approve AP manifest of February 4th, 2022 and February 8th, 2022.
Second,
Second.
any questions, comments, or discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Ally?
Aye.
Okay, great. And then we have no executive session tonight, so we will entertain a motion to adjourn. Oh, sorry.
Mr. Chair, if I may indulge the board for just 1 minute. This is my last meeting. I will be on a plane going to Nashville on the 22nd. And I wanted to take this opportunity to thank the staff of Hartford. You don't get credit for what you do, and oftentimes it is when there are complaints. And I am, at least until March 1st, have been proud to serve alongside of you. I also want to thank the people on this board. I cannot tell you how much you have meant to me in these past 2 years. Dennis, if I've ever had to make a decision on a historical reference, I have come to you because you know more about this town than anybody that I know. Lanny, your passion for the citizens of this town is second to none. And I appreciate your questions because often your questions help me formulate my decisions. Ally, your preparedness in this job has made me think of a saying, and that is, if you don't run with the big dogs, then don't come off the porch. And in essence, I have to raise my game because of you. Dan, to be your second during this tenure has been a wonderful experience, and your leadership is something that I enjoy and often marvel at. Mike, in just a short time, you have proven your chops as a legislator, excuse me. And I think Hartford is in good hands with you. Kim, you have been a mentor to me. You are the reason why I'm on this board. And sometimes I curse you for that. And you have been a confidant of mine. And I appreciate you exponentially. Some of you know that last weekend, I lost my sister and I had to go home and take care of some arrangements. And when you do those things, you recognize family. And the people of Hartford took someone who was not one of theirs and have accepted me as one of their own. And I appreciate that of you. This has been one of the best experiences of my life. And I thank you for letting me inside, if not for the last 2 years and beyond. So thank you, Mr. Chair. That will be the last time I'll say that. for a little bit. Thank you.
Joe. Thank you very much. Thank you for your service to the town. You brought so much to the board. All right, anyone else? Okay, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second,
Second?
Mike, questions, discussion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Ally?
Hi.
All right, thank you very much.